Want to be high? Let's go.
We live.
Are we still live on YouTube?
No, we just went live again. I cut that.
Alright, cool. So shout out to the YouTube crowd who's just joining in. We easy like a Sunday morning.
Hey.
You got some information about how to start a trust? Please let us know. We new to this. I'm trying to figure it out. I know it is a living will, if you will. Now we're going to talk about a will when somebody passes, and we're going to talk about wills when people are living. Like you can have a living will as well. What is that? It's a trust. What is a trust? It's when people trust one another. First of all, you have to be honest and truthful in a trust. Trust is about honesty. So now you put these things in a trust. There's certain different types of trust: irrevocable, revocable, express trust, different things, right? So we have to figure out which is best for yourself. You might need a financial advisor to help you out with that. Or we just want to go into definition. What's what? What is it? Why use it? What's it for? How can it help? And I know some of you probably trust babies. Come on in and let us know. How has your trust helped you? If you have a trust and you started your own trust, let us know how that worked out for you. How's it help you and your family? See, trust is nothing like really but a bowl, let's just say. And you put everything in this bowl that you want protected. And you want to tell people what you want to do with this bowl in case of your absence. So, you let them know what you want to do with your bowl. Now, see, while you're alive, you can make put special things in your trust, like just in case this, if I'm too ill, if I'm mentally not able, or if your beneficiaries, who you may name, if they're not capable of handling such a trust. See, if you're not mentally capable, then you're not able to enter into any contracts, business or otherwise. That's why they said, are you an idiot? Because an idiot cannot be prosecuted. Alright, cool, for a lot of reasons. So, when you're like ignorant is one thing, that means you ignoring something. You might know something, but that doesn't mean you follow it. That's being ignorant of a thing. Now, not knowing, totally ignorant, totally like oblivious of a thing doesn't matter in the court of law. Just because you don't know the law doesn't mean it's not the law. So that's why we have to get into what is a promissory note. Can you put promissory notes in a trust? Can we put our bitcoins in a trust? These are questions that I like to ask. I know you can put tangible things in there like your home, your car, most of your assets. If it's tangible, it's real property. I just know that you can't mix private and public. You know, it's a very thin line between private and public, and you don't want to cross that line. So, if anybody has anything they would like to talk about the trust, because I'm new to this, I'm just learning, please chime in.
Alright, cool. We got like 3 messages in the K.
Ever make someone an irrevocable beneficiary? That is a bad thing to do. You think, oh, I'm going to make my little nephew my irrevocable beneficiary because I don't have any kids. Oh, yeah, you love that little kid now, but then he's dating some girl you don't like later on, or he's into drugs or something. He doesn't need all that money. Yeah. Irrevocable beneficiary is a really bad idea. Good point. Now, question, can you put things in the trust that that distinguishes those type of stipulations. Like, you can put things in a trust that forces your beneficiaries to follow certain rules, if you will. And once they're outside of these rules, then the trustees can, with it, the power of an executor at the time, change things if need be. As long as the executor or the grantor is still alive, things can be changed. So if this is only in the depth of the grantor, executor, then things get weird. And then it can go into probate. You see, it doesn't mean it's not going to go into probate. And we'll talk about that too at a later date. But, that might be too much for right now. All right, cool. I would like him to join us. He sounds like he knows more about it than I do. Now, do you have a trust? Let's talk. Yourself? Are you a trust baby? Are you an attorney or deal in finance? That will help. You can help us out. Like I said, I'm into the 101 stages of this thing.
The reason it's a bad idea is because, you may decide that you don't want him to be your irrevocable beneficiary anymore, but you got to get him to come in and sign it. He might decide, no, I'm not going to give all that money. It's going to me. So just be aware. It's a thing.
Yes, and I totally agree. I agree. This is why I believe that you can put as much in the trust as possible. It's better to put things in and have it be taken out later than not have something in the bowl altogether, is the point for me. I'd put as much in it as freaking possible as to protect anything that may come up. Just like with a will. Somebody's going to contest the will. It happens all the time. But you put things in, provisions in there, bung, 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 bung. And you got to be up on the game. You got to be ahead of the game, too. I like this conversation.
Mr. Dini, you're absolutely right about that. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, and that is exactly what the judge will tell you if you're going in for a speeding ticket or something and say, I didn't know that was the speed limit. He's like, ignorance is no excuse. You should have looked to see what the speed limit was.
Also, man, I'm glad he said that. Ignorance of the positions of court and the rules of court is not their problem either. Now, you're supposed to know the rules of court. Once you enter the court, then they assume you know all the rules to the game of court. They assume you know all the rules. So when you walk in, they assume you know. When you're using financial notes, FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, the banks and everybody assumes that you already understand financial law. It's not an excuse. See? So that's why people get prosecuted for doing all kinds of things, because they assume, under the law of assumption, you know what you're doing. Now, you call yourself a minority. What is that? It doesn't mean your skin tone or skin color or nothing like that. It's your status in the law. What's your status? Have you at 21 years old, I would think it's 33 as well, something like that, let your constituents know that you are a living man, woman. No, you have not. So they assume you're still a ward of the state, and they're going to treat you like it until you tell them otherwise. What does that mean? Well, they say there's something called authenticating your birth certificate. Now, me personally, I never said I agree with it, but I'm just saying and stating the facts that there is something called authenticating your birth certificate for your entertainment purposes only. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a financial advisor, just a researcher. I study, I read, I break it down. Now, we'll continue, but these are terms that you might hear in this conversation.
Yeah, I'm interested in how the trust fund or the trust thing works, because I know when I was invested in stocks, I still have something now. I came across a trust fund, and it had a stock attached to it, and it belonged to some kids. And I was kind of like, Eric, like, did I really just gamble these kids' money? But at the exact same time, like, or y'all put up the money that y'all getting off the kids' money that y'all got in this little trust fund or this stock, or how's that work? So I really wanted to know, like, did y'all really just put these kids' money out there like that? So I really wanted to know exactly how does that work? How does that, what exactly is it?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we're here to do today. I'm learning, and I'm excited about. I've known about it for some years. I just didn't think that, me personally, I didn't need it at the time. But the way things are going now, and more people opening up their own businesses and companies and things like that, and doing more things for themselves, it's private. So understanding private law versus public law and things like that is going to be a major deal in upcoming futures, because now you got the IRS checking into Bitcoin and all of that. Saying that, but I'm saying that some things are private, some things are public, and they have different laws for private versus public. All right, cool.
Because that particular trust fund, the trust fund that they had, that basically said it was somebody's trust, whatever. They pay dividends, and I invest in stocks that they pay dividends. So I was more of a dividend investor.
Well, your birth certificate is actually your trust, and your Social Security card, I believe, is a trust. I have to look that up, but I definitely know the Declaration of Independence is a trust amongst the people, so they can come together and form the union. So these are trusts, and if they can start a whole country on a trust. All right, cool. Let's think about that. Let's just think about that for a quick second. All right. No more messages. Let's go into some of this. These laws. See if we can understand some of this stuff. We're going to play it, and then we're going to stop it. If you have questions, I'll stop it, and we'll continue on. This is from the MJ, the fellow.
Video, I want to talk about trust.
And he's talking about the trust.
Like a lot of things in finance, is a contract between various parties.
We'll stop and start because we're educational. If you want to hear it and play it straight through.
What makes a trust a little bit unique is that
you want to play it straight through is from the YouTube channel, MJ, the fellow actuary, ACTUARY, MJ, the fellow actuary, and the particular one is called Understanding Trust Law. Okay, cool. We'll continue after this message.
Yes, I'm glad you said something about the Social Security card and birth certificate being a trust, because I was wondering how could I possibly get birth to my child without signing up for a damn Social Security number? Like, what are the options that women have not to sign their kids up for a Social Security number? Stuff like that.
Well, I don't know. If you could pull up a law, or the law that says we have to have one, there's no law that says you have to have a Social Security card.
Hey, I want to play something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think, let me see.
What is a trust? A trust is a fiduciary relationship in which one party, known as a trustor, gives another party, the trustee.
My bad.
What is a trust? A trust is a fiduciary relationship in which one party, known as a trustor, gives another party, the trustee, the right to hold title to property or assets for the benefit of a third party, the beneficiary. Trusts are established to provide legal protection for the trustor's
Can you
assets,
stop that for a
to
second?
make sure those assets are distributed according to.
Yeah, so let's get that. Executor or the grantor, the one who creates the trust, the creator, like your creator, created man. The executor created the trust, created man. The trust is there to protect everything that's in this bowl. Okay, so you're a bowl, you're a vessel created by your creator and was entrusted with the earth for you to be a beneficiary to. See, I'm trying to break this down so when you understand what happened to us, you understand the trick was done on paper so that they can take your divine rights. All right, keep. We're gonna go, but that's executor, grantor, makes a trust names trustees. You can name 2 or more trustees because they're checks and balances one another. And then you have the beneficiaries, the American people, the trust, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence. The grantors. Now, who are the grantors? The founding fathers? Or they're just a holder of the trust? The trustees. Okay, so if they're the trustees, then who is the grantor, the executor? All right, cool. This is where it gets interesting. All right, go ahead, play.
To the wishes of the trustor, and to save time, reduce paperwork, and, in some cases, avoid or reduce inheritance or estate taxes. In finance, a trust can also be a type of closed-end fund built as a public limited company. Key takeaways.
Okay, stop that. Company, not country. So is this a country or a
company?
All right, cool. Keep going.
A trust is a fiduciary relationship in which a trustor gives another party, known as the trustee, the right to hold title to property or assets for the benefit of a third party. While they are generally associated with the idle rich, trusts are highly versatile instruments which can be used for a wide variety of purposes to achieve specific goals. Each trust falls into 6 broad categories: living or testamentary, funded or unfunded, revocable or irrevocable. 122. Trust. Understand. Trusts are created by settlers, an individual along with his or her lawyer, who decide how to transfer parts or all of their assets to trustees. Understanding trusts. Trusts are created by settlers, an individual along with his or her lawyer, who decide how to transfer parts or all of.
What they settling on?
Understanding trusts. Trusts are created by settlers, an individual along with his or her lawyer, who decide how to transfer parts or all of their assets to trustees. These trustees hold on to the assets for the beneficiaries of the trust. The rules of a trust depend on the terms on which it was built. In some areas, it is possible for older beneficiaries to become trustees. For example, in some jurisdictions, the grantor can be a lifetime beneficiary and a trustee at the same time. A trust can be used to determine how a person's money should be managed and distributed while that person is alive, or after their death. A trust helps avoid taxes and probate. It can protect assets from creditors, and it can dictate the terms of an inheritance for beneficiaries. The disadvantages of trusts are that they require time and money to create, and they cannot be easily revoked. A trust is one way to provide for a beneficiary who is underage or has a mental disability that may impair his ability to manage finances. Once the beneficiary is deemed capable of managing his assets, he will receive possession of the trust. Categories of trusts. Trusts. Although there are many different types of trusts, each fits into one or more of the following categories. Living or testamentary.
Pay attention.
A living trust, also called an inter vivos trust, is a written document in which an individual's assets are provided as a trust for the individual's use and benefit during his lifetime. These assets are transferred to his beneficiaries at the time of the individual's death. The individual has a successor trustee who is in charge of transferring the assets. A testamentary trust, also called a will trust, specifies how the assets of an individual are designated after the individual's death. Revocable or irrevocable.
One is for living,
Hold up.
one is for death. One is a living trust, one's a death trust. Testamentary, and the other one was I gotta remember.
Living or testamentary.
Testamentary is a death,
After you
death
die,
trust.
and living is while you alive. And now now it's going into revocable and irrevocable.
Right. Okay, cool.
Revocable or irrevocable. A revocable trust can be changed or terminated by the trustor during his lifetime. An irrevocable trust, as the name implies, is one the trustor cannot change once it's established, or one that becomes irrevocable upon his death. Living trusts can be revocable or irrevocable. Testamentary trusts can only be irrevocable. An irrevocable trust is usually more desirable. The fact that it is unalterable, containing assets that have been permanently moved out of the trustor's possession, is what allows estate taxes to be minimized or avoided altogether. Image by Sabrina Jung, copyright Investopedia. Funded or unfunded. A funded trust has assets put into it by the trustor during his lifetime. An unfunded trust consists only of the trust agreement with no funding. Unfunded trusts can become funded upon the trustor's death or remain unfunded. Since an unfunded trust exposes assets to many of the perils a trust is designed to avoid, ensuring proper funding is important. Common purposes for trusts. The trust fund is an ancient instrument, dating back to feudal times, in fact, that is sometimes greeted with scorn due to its association with the idle rich, as in the
colonial times. It goes back to feudal times, ancient trust fund. Why is that? I would love to go back and find the first trust fund. Cool.
Common purposes for trusts. Mon purposes for trusts. The trust fund is an ancient instrument, dating back to feudal times, in fact, that is sometimes greeted with scorn, due to its association with the idle rich, as in the pejorative trust fund baby. But trusts are highly versatile vehicles that can protect assets and direct them into the right hands in the present and in the future, long after the original asset owner's death. A trust is a legal entity employed to hold property, so the assets are generally safer than they would be with a family member. Even a relative with the best of intentions could face a lawsuit, divorce, or other misfortune, putting those assets at risk. Though they seem geared primarily toward high net worth individuals and families, since they can be expensive to establish and maintain, those of more middle class means may also find them useful in ensuring care for a physically or mentally disabled dependent, for example. Some individuals use trusts simply for privacy. The terms of a will may be public in some jurisdictions. The same conditions of a will may apply through a trust, and individuals who don't want their wills publicly posted opt for trusts instead. Trusts can also be used for estate planning. Typically, the assets of a deceased individual are passed to the spouse, and then equally divided to the surviving children. However, children who are under the legal age of 18 need to have trustees. The trustees only have control over the assets until the children reach adulthood. Trusts can also be used for tax planning. In some cases, the tax consequences provided by using trusts are lower compared to other alternatives. As such, the usage of trusts has become a staple in tax planning for individuals and corporations. Assets in a trust benefit from a step-up in basis, which can mean a substantial tax savings for the heirs, who eventually inherit from the trust. By contrast, assets that are simply given away during the owner's lifetime typically carry his or her original cost basis. Here's how the calculation works. Shares of stock that cost $5,000 when originally purchased, and that are worth $10,000 when the beneficiary of a trust inherits them, would have a basis of $10,000. Had the same beneficiary received them as a gift when the original owner was still alive, their basis would be $5,000. Later, if the shares were sold for $12,000, the person who inherited them from a trust would owe tax on a $2,000 gain, while someone who was given the shares would owe tax on a gain of $7,000. Note that the step-up in basis applies to inherited assets in general, not just those that involve a trust. Finally, a person may create a trust to qualify for Medicaid and still preserve at least a portion of their wealth.
Wow.
Types of trust funds.
Did you hear that shit?
Below is a list.
Yeah, you can
Finally,
hide your
a
money in a
person
trust
may
and still
create
get
a trust to
Medicaid.
qualify for Medicaid and still Finally, a person may create a
That's the
trust
shit
to
they doing.
qualify for Medicaid and still preserve
You
at
don't think
least
they
a
not?
portion of their wealth. Types of trust funds. Below is a list of some of the more common types of trust funds. Credit Shelter Trust, sometimes called a bypass trust or family trust. This trust allows a person to bequeath an amount up to, but not over, the estate tax exemption. The rest of the estate passes to a spouse, tax-free. Funds placed in a credit shelter trust are forever free of estate taxes, even if they grow. Generation Skipping Trust. This trust allows a person to transfer assets tax-free to beneficiaries at least 2 generations their junior, typically, their grandchildren.
Damn.
Qualified Personal Residence Trust. This trust removes a person's home, or vacation home, from their estate. This could be helpful if the properties are likely to appreciate greatly. Insurance Trust. This irrevocable trust shelters a life insurance policy within a trust, thus removing it from a taxable estate. While a person may no longer borrow against the policy or change beneficiaries, proceeds can be used to pay estate costs after a person dies. Qualified Terminable Interest Property Trust. This trust allows a person to direct assets to specific beneficiaries, their survivors, at different times. In the typical scenario, a spouse will receive lifelong income from the trust and children will get what's left after the spouse dies. Separate Share Trust. This trust lets a parent establish a trust with different features for each beneficiary, i.e., child. A Spendthrift Trust. This trust protects the assets a person places in the trust from being claimed by creditors. This trust also allows for management of the assets by an independent trustee and forbids the beneficiary from selling his interest in the trust. Charitable Trust. This trust benefits a particular charity or non-profit organization. Normally, a charitable trust is established as part of an estate plan and helps lower or avoid estate and gift taxes. A charitable remainder trust, funded during a person's lifetime, disperses income to the designated beneficiaries, like children or a spouse, for a specified period of time, and then donates the remaining assets to the charity. Special Needs Trust. This trust is meant for a dependent who receives government benefits, such as Social Security disability benefits. Setting up the trust enables the disabled person to receive income without affecting or forfeiting the government payments. Blind Trust. This trust provides for the trustees to handle the assets of the trust without the knowledge of the beneficiaries. This could be useful if the beneficiary needs to avoid conflicts of interest. Totten Trust. Also known as a payable on death account. This trust is created during the lifetime of the trustor, who also acts as the trustee. It's generally used for bank accounts. Physical property cannot be put into it. The big advantage is that assets in the trust avoid probate upon the trustor's death. Often called a poor man's trust, this variety does not require a written document and often costs nothing to set up. It can be established simply by having the title on the account include identifying language such as in trust for, payable on death to, or as trustee for. Except, perhaps, for the Totten Trust, trusts are complex vehicles. Setting a trust up properly typically requires expert advice from a trust attorney or a trust company, which sets up trust funds as part of a wide range of estate and asset management services. Sponsored. Calculate your time to retirement with a financial advisor.
All right.
That makes sense. It seems like my mom's did something like that before she passed, and I never was able to get into what happened. And it just got me thinking about fixing a lot of shit.
Hey, I got a couple definitions real quick. Hold up, let me see.
I'm gonna play this one real quick.
All right.
If you please.
I got the settler defined legally.
I think this one is just video, so no audio. Alright, cool. Hold on, let me see.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Common Law Rights Society. I'm your host, Greg Ward, and tonight we will be talking about the private express trusts. that so many of you guys
Private Express Trust.
Common law private express trust, also known as a Massachusetts trust, Massachusetts business trust. What else? Sometimes referred to as a private trust. But it's a non-statutory trust, so that's the important thing to distinguish. This is a private
state
trust, meaning
statutory state.
It is expressed, and it is not statutory. It is formed under the common law right of contract that every man and woman of adult age can create of their own right, what they call sui juris. So. Your brother Greg here really believes in the importance of your rights, and so we always are on the search for ways that you could discover your rights that were given to you by the Creator that is not reliant on any outside source. And when we studied these things, we found trust law to be at the root of pretty much all things in our society today. And so when we discovered the private express trust of the common law, we discovered that, in our opinion, this form of trust is on a same level of authority, if you will, as the state itself. Because remember, all things originate in contract law. Again, this is not legal advice. This is just one man's opinion, but I believe it's a good opinion after a lot of research. Of course, please leave your comments and your thoughts below. But it is our opinion that contract law rules, right? If you have... and bear with me, humor me, right? If you, whether you believe in the Creator or not, the Creator overall created all people to be equal and gave everyone equal rights, and those rights existed. Basically, you had the free will, right? As long as you did not trespass upon anyone else's rights. So the basic common law existed in the form of you could not trespass. That's where we get trespass from. We don't trespass on each other's properties. We don't trespass on each other's bodies. And then as far as your right to create an agreement with another human being, that's your right of contract of agreement. You also have that right. So you have the right to say yes, and you have the right to say no, right? That is where we get consent of the government from. And that's where all governments that are free governments that are created by the consent of the people originate out of. It had to start with two or more, right? So you've heard scriptures talk about two or more gathered. Well, here's another example of this. You have to have two people to have a contract, okay? And really, same thing with the trust. So many people say that you need three, but I think in the form of a basic trust, really, if I'm the grantor, when you'll find out about all these things, but if I'm the grantor, I give you as the trustee for me now as the beneficiary. In the end, you have the trustee and the beneficiary. You have other roles that people play, but that's the basics of it. Nonetheless, that's not the point at the moment. The point at the moment is your rights came from the Creator and are equal footing to everyone else's rights. And the private express trust at the common law gives you a look into those original rights. And we'll just stop there and we'll open up the book and take a look. So here's Trustee Handbook. Here we go. Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook, a guide to the administration of an express trust under the common law, functioning under the general law merchant, by Carlton Albert Weiss. Second edition, 2008. Introduction. This handbook is about the administration of express trusts created under the original American common law and functioning within the unique system of commerce in the American states, i.e., the general law merchant, as it stands in the 21st century America. If we go down to the bottom and look at the footnote, it says the general law merchant is embraced under general common law, i.e., the original and unique system of commercial law in the American states, in which there is no commerce regulation of express trusts except in connection with income derived from corporate stock and physical franchises under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 and 3 of the Constitution. See William A. Fletcher, The General Common Law, and Section 34 of the Judiciary Act of 1789, the example of marine insurance. 97 Harvard Law Review, 1513 of 1984. All right, so we'll go over and we'll take a look at that for a second. The Harvard Law Review is this right here. And we will try to leave a link below to this, but if you search up this right here, General Common Law in the Section 34 of the Judiciary Act of 1789 by William A. Fletcher, you'll find a PDF online that you can check out. Nonetheless, I definitely suggest you guys check out all these footnotes, try to look at some things in these footnotes to give you an idea of why Carlton was pointing this out. It's very important, you guys. As you saw over here, once again, the general law merchant is a prince under general common law originally and unique system of commercial law in the American states. So the general law merchant was the unique system of commercial law in the American states. But remember, that's not the whole of it, in which there is no commerce regulation of express trusts, except in connection with income derived from corporate stock and physical franchises. So if you're running your operations of your existence out of the express trust under the common law, then you're using the general law merchant, and there's no regulation of commerce using express trust except in connection with income derived from corporate stock and physical franchises. So that's huge, you guys. If you can't grasp what that is at the moment, you'll hopefully begin to see it. You're utilizing forms of law to seek out protections and to seek out new forms of freedom that you didn't exist prior to this. So as you see, there's no statutory regulation of express trust, and a trustee is protected, as you'll see in the coming paragraphs under Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. All right. The material presented herein has been reduced from various sources which the reader is encouraged to examine for his own knowledge and further understanding. The material herein has been rendered into a concise handbook format intended to allow the reader to refer to each section for guidance on decisions regarding the most pertinent aspects of the administration of an express trust. So only secondary attention has been given to all other matters. All in all, the author's objective by this handbook is to devise a simple guide with clearly outlined methods and sample forms for the effective handling of affairs of express trusts, while also showing the many options for growth and prosperity and profound protections afforded by express trusts when created and administered properly. This book is written in a somewhat unconventional manner in order to accommodate this objective. If the reader should find, after examining the sources, that this work has failed in its objective, then let it be attributed to a fault of the author, not to any supposed faultiness of the sources or the express trust itself. It will be admitted by all honest and learned lawyers, as it once was, when a lawyer by definition was learned in the law, that the express trust, especially one created with proper care to its instruments, is a far superior form of security or organization in general for individuals who desire to exercise their natural rights. So as you heard Carlton Weiss point out there and emphasize, right there, you guys, the express trust would be admitted by all honest lawyers that the express trust under the common law, especially one created with proper care to its instruments and documentation, is a far superior form of security or organization in general for individuals who desire to exercise their natural rights. All right. Let's see. Continue on, you guys. First, it must be understood that any trust, regardless of the many designations applied to them, is, in its most basic sense, a property interest held by one person, the trustee, at the request of another, the settlor, for the benefit of a third party, the beneficiary. Classification applied to a trust is based primarily upon its mode of creation, in which it may be created either by act of a party or by operation of the law. All right, so you heard that again. I'll read that one more time. The classification applied to a trust is based primarily upon its mode of creation, in which it may be created either by act of a party or by operation of law, or by operation of the law. So if something happens and by virtue of the law, property has to be held in custody of a trustee, or a constructive trust is created, that's by operation of law. And we'll read read about that more later, but a lot of people feel that constructive trusts are happening all over the place. And anyway, we'll leave that for another conversation later. In the case of the former, trusts are divided into two types, express or implied. Without getting into various subclasses of express and implied trusts, the basic difference between one created by the express act of a party and one created by the implied act of a party is that the former is stated fully in language, oral or written, while the latter is inferred solely from the conduct of the parties. These are very generalized definitions, so presented for want of space, since there are many intricacies concerning the true meaning of the term implied. It has been shown that, in a sense, the classification of express trust can only be applied based on what is implied by the language of the trust which is created, of the instrument which created the trust. So we won't get into that. Our focus is on a particular written express trust type, and even though the above definition is essentially accurate, it does little to define the express trust as it is known in its fullest sense under the protections of the common law. All right, so he's basically pointing out that a lot of trusts can be created different ways: express, oral, implied. But in order to afford yourself the full protection of the common law, we would want to express the trust by writing it down and very clearly pointing out everything that is desired to be expressed in that trust. All right. Express trust under the common law. The most adequate definition of the express trust is to be understood from the earlier case law, which has been eloquently summed up and restated into a clear, concise definition by Alfred D. Chandler, Esquire, in a report submitted to the tax commissioners of Massachusetts on unincorporated associations. The study was conducted as part of a legislative investigation into their economic effect on the state in 1911. In the first part of the report, as pages 6 through 7, he offers the following definition. Express trusts put the legal estate entirely in one or more persons, while others have a beneficial interest in and out of the same, but are neither partners nor agents. This simple, adequate, common law right, any person or group of persons, sui juris, may exercise. The trustees issuing certificates of beneficial and capital interest divided into shares, as well as issuing bonds and other obligations, as freely as they open a bank account, have a passbook, a draw, and circulate checks, or make whatever contractual relations are allowed to persons as a natural right. It says italics, emphasis supplied in original, bold emphasis, and bracket information added. What becomes clear from this definition is that the express trust is not merely a property interest held by one for the benefit of another like any basic trust. Rather, it is a trust created by private contract for the holding of a divisible property interest, wherein the trustee is empowered by the settlor to do for a beneficiary of the trustees, choosing whatever he may do for himself as an individual sui juris, which means of one's own right. What has been created here is a trust organization lawfully by natural right. As a general proposition, it may be asserted that one who creates a trust may mold it into whatever form he pleases, and that whatever one may lawfully do himself, he may authorize another to do for him. All right, so I want to point out, you guys, that when they speak about whatever one may lawfully do himself, he may authorize another to do for him. It's something to think about. This trust is operating out of the common law, and part of the reasons why the earlier businessmen in the early part of the 20th century were utilizing the private express trust as the document that they were doing business out of. It was their business organization document. The reason why was because they were able to sidestep statutes that were they were able to sidestep statutory regulations upon corporations, and so they were utilizing it for that reason. What you'll soon find is that the trustee is able to do whatever is necessary and proper for the trust, and that no statute may infringe upon that obligation. And so there are a lot of things that you'll see that you may be able to start to recognize you could do in the name of the trust for the purpose of the trust, to expand the trust, to benefit the trust and the beneficiaries, to expand the property, or whatever is deemed efficient and proper by the trustee, one may do. And statutory and statutes can't get in the way of that obligation. So you start to see how this trust format can open up a huge aspect of freedoms for you when you start to see the licenses that are required by statutes, and you start to see all the regulation that is brought on by statutes, and then you start to see that you can create a trust that enables you to do things outside of the statutory regulation, and then by being obligated to perform the trust duties, the state can't get in the way of those duties. So it's basically.
Okay, wow. I'm glad I woke up to this. Good morning, everybody. I'm interested in this trust because recently a friend suggested that I place myself in a trust, and it gives me protection from whatever, and I can't remember what he said. I don't know if is it a revocable trust? You're talking about an express trust. Are there different trusts, and what's the benefit of me being in a trust?
Oh, yes, there's different trusts. There's private, there's public. There's a difference between the two. You can't mix oil with water. I'm not going to say a lot because, we'd have to go OnlyFans for a lot of that. I don't have an OnlyFans button, neither do the brother. But we do have Discord. We have other stuff that we can do in the back chat. But I will say publicly, they're different trusts, and whichever one that fits you is best. Now, putting yourself in a trust, I have to ask, who are you first? What's your nationality? What's your status for the record? What kind of citizen are you? That part, and then I can answer that. Just saying put yourself in a trust makes no sense unless you know who you are. First, that takes a whole nother class, but I know what he's talking about. I know what you're talking about. I don't think you know exactly what he's talking about, or she. So do some more homework first, is what I'm saying. It takes more studying, a little bit more. All right, cool. But no, you can't put yourself in a trust. That would be my suggestion. But I have other things. Hit me in my IG. Hit Cryptos in his IG, Mr. Machiavelli. And he'll probably direct you some information. All right, cool. I'm protecting my energy these days because a lot of things are happening outside of here. That's coming from here, and it's taken to my personal page outside of stereo. Now, when you do that, it's called libel. It's called slander. It's called court. The fuck? It's called, I'm going to sue you if you keep it up. I already asked you to stop. Continue. If you like, I will sue you. All right, cool. Next. We're going back to the trust. All right, yeah. But if, you can go back and listen to the beginning of this when we're done. But when they spoke of all the different trusts, we're just going to continue on with the private side of the trust, which is the express trust so far under common law.
We like that. So, as long as you're not creating.
Okay, so I'm just a regular American citizen. My nationality is Negro, and it's early, y'all. He felt that it would protect me from having anyone be able to I'm not really sure why he suggested it. He just suggested that if I put myself in a trust, I no longer can be, attacked by corporations or companies. Like, I'm not really sure. He just said, if you want to be autonomous to government and them regulating you and requiring you to do whatever that, I can't even.
Right. So it sounds like you got to do a lot of homework. Now, as a national, you say your nationality is Negro, or a Latin term for black, I believe. You can't put a Negro or a black thing inside of a trust. The trust is a bowl of protection. You want to put everything in this bowl that you want to protect. That's real things that mean things to you real. Now, you're real as a person, and are you going to want to put yourself in a trust? I don't know. But as a Negro, no, because as a Negro, you're still property of somebody else. That's a long story, but you are, as a Negro, as a U.S. citizen, these type of things, black, Indian, colored, African American, these 14th Amendment citizens, which places them in a different type citizenship, which puts them in somebody else's bowl. You can't take yourself out of somebody else's bowl and then put it in your bowl unless you own yourself. I'm not going to get that far with that, though. You're going to have to do some homework. Yeah. But I'll say that just so you can understand that part, at least. Islam to the Moor. Emperor, Dr. Ben.
Power up. To the family, Mr. Houdini, Mr. Machiavelli. Much love to y'all. Brothers, I will definitely attempt to assist the Empress' divine ideas. She and I definitely resonate and build on several things. And we'll get in the back chats, and I'll try to get her caught up to speed as best as possible. Much love to y'all for the reading, the sharing. Great build. Scroll family. Let grow.
Islam Emperor, I appreciate that for helping out the Empress and the Moabites trying to learn how to stand on her own square. So, yeah, in the back chat is amazing because, they already got rid of one account. We don't want a lot of us disappearing out here. So, yeah, they got King Cooley. They already on my case. They know the Moors are speaking truth, and a lot of people are actually reporting us left and right. So, Islam to the Moors.
Oh God, I don't know where that cut off. What I was saying is, I'm just a nobody in the sense that, I'm not rich or have a whole lot of property or nothing like that, But I just didn't understand why I would put myself in a trust.
Then you have to question that. You have to do some more homework. Figure out what he means by that. What is he talking about? Put myself in a bowl, in a box, in anything.
He's actually referring to the person.
Right, but see, that's the part I'm trying to get her to see.
The person.
And understand. There's
You're not
a
the
difference
person.
between a person and the man, the you. The real.
The paperwork.
Person as opposed to
the child.
Person on paper.
The paperwork. The person. You can go to UCC1 definitions and learn who a person is, who a consumer is, who a natural being is. Who are you? Do we know who we are? Are you the birth certificate? Is that your social security card?
Is your birth certificate and you? People say, yeah, that's me.
That's me. No, that's not me. That ain't me.
That's a fucking driver's license. Pardon self. I don't mean to curse, but Y'all know my passion gets there sometimes. But what I'm saying is that's not you in your wallet. Everything in your wallet is just in your wallet. Stop claiming these things are you. And then you will start seeing that things will change in your life.
The trust protects the
I
person.
claim things in my wallet. The things in my wallet are borrowed. People, they lend them to me. You know what I'm saying? Somebody gave it to me and told me, hold this in a safe place for the rest of your life. And I'm like, for what? I don't know. Just do it. Okay, I did that. Now, when I come out, you asking me for these documents, I'm supposed to keep in a safe place and don't tell nobody about it. It says on the back, do not tell nobody about this. But what we do you have your social security card? Yeah, what is it? What? It says on the back not to tell you nothing. But we keep giving it up every day. Whose fault is that? Mine or yours? Stop blaming the government shit you doing yourself. Now, let's go. Let's grow. Islam to the more. James Conway Bay. Islam.
Nationality is the order of the day, and we're Moors.
Oh, he come in with the heat, eh?
Drop mic. Drop the mic and left.
When you know more, you do more.
I mean, I'm just trying to help here. But the brother said, listen, y'all can play games if you want, but this is what it is. Drop the mic. I'm out. Islam.
Now I understand exactly the way you explained it. Makes perfect sense. So, what's the benefit of me doing? Okay, so I get it. So I have this bowl, which is the trust, and anything that I own, I can put in this trust. So let's say I own a house, a car, savings accounts, any kinds of anything that I own. But geez, you're saying that I don't own myself. So is there a way for me to possibly own myself? And I know you said you weren't going to get into it, but can you briefly touch on that? I know that it has something to do with the sovereign thing, but I've always been afraid.
Afraid of
what is fear?
Studying the Constitution.
Is fear an illusion?
Because the Constitution only protects rights that you were already given by your Creator. The government's not giving you anything. So you have a choice here now to either waive your rights or not waive them. Are you waiving your rights or not by signing onto contracts? Everything is contractual law in 2021, and as far as probably as long as I've been alive.
Do you comply or do you not comply?
Law. Now, do you deal in contractual law as your how you govern your life? Because contractual law didn't give you life. Let me be clear now. That which gave you life is what made up your Constitution. See, the word Constitution means what you are made up of. You're made up of your parents' DNA, and then their parents, and so on. To the end of the day, you are made up of the cosmos, if you will. So you're just in a spacesuit. Go ahead, put your arms out as far as you can reach on all sides. That's space.
As far as you can see.
And you in your spacesuit. So you can continue to believe that your spacesuit is you. They already got you. So you're already somebody's property. By calling yourself something outside of what your parents called you.
And it's by default. Literally, we're born into this.
Well, look in your wallet. Everybody pull out their wallets. I know we're going to go to third grade a little bit. And all of the ID you have in your pocket has all capital letters. That's not you. Stop saying that everything in your wallet is you. You never signed your name with all capital letters in your life. The only time you probably see all capital letters when you're driving by in a car or something is you go, oh, look. The cemetery, all the cemetery tombstones have all capital letters. Why? Because they're dead. dead entities. So everything in your wallet is talking about a dead man walking, a dead woman walking. And then they say, are you the dead man walking? And you be like, yes. As soon as you go to court, they be like, oh shit, we got a live one, y'all. Get him. All right, cool. That part. I just try to make it so that, even a child can understand the shit that we're going through. All right, cool. Let's go.
I don't know where that cut off, but if I give up my citizenship in the United States, can they kick me out? Can they just say, well, you're not a citizen of the United States, get the hell out? Go wherever. We don't care where you go. You just got to get out of here. Okay, good question. That would be a travesty for right now, anyway.
What's a citizen of the United States?
Hold on 1 second. Let's see. I need you to see, because I like to give them a little bit of homework at the same time. I need you to go ahead and Google, or maybe go to Google Scholar. So when you go to Google, type in Google Scholar, because this is how you fact check yourself, or me, or whoever. You go to Google Scholar, and they're going to open up a whole nother browser called Google Scholar. Then you Google into Google Scholar, the United States as a corporation. Okay, so they're a company. Can you get kicked out of a company? Can McDonald's kick you out? Sure. But do you have to go anywhere else after that? No, you just got to leave McDonald's. Okay, that part. Show me where the United States exists on landmass. Like, give me the coordinates, if you will, on paper. Show me where it's somewhere like in the Constitution, somewhere where you can say, okay, we're talking about these corporate United States. These United States. So, what are the coordinates of America, if you will, or the United States, or wherever you claim that you're a citizen of? Give me those coordinates, okay? And then you'll find out that the United States exists only on paper, so you can't leave the paper. How are they going to kick you out of some paper? Kick me off the paper then. And you don't have to move anywhere. You're already on your own land. They just usurped you and made you think that you left your land and joined some fictional paper land, but you don't know the difference. You're claiming the paper the monopoly person, the game board piece is you. You forgot you were playing the game. And all you got to do is kick the whole table over. Game over.
I do not comply.
But you continue to play, thinking that you're now the game piece on the board. So you have to go to jail, pick a card, do the shit that everybody tell you got to do, and the community is going to tell you no. You have to pay dog tax. Why? Fucking, it's my dog. But the community chest said that you have to do. Fuck the community. No, my bad. No, it's just more importantly, if we're gonna have government, it starts with home. It starts with your house.
Govern your own
tell
mental.
Your kids what to do, but you want to go out there and be the president of the United States, but your kids is running amok.
A figurehead.
Take care of home first. Then you take care of your community, your state, your city. You get bigger and bigger and broader, and that's how government was.
You are the center of your existence. The ripple starts with you.
Right. Everything works outside of you. You are the government. When we're outside contracting with one another, shaking hands and saying, hey, how's the family? How's the kids? Yeah. You want to meet me tomorrow about 3 o'clock? We're going to discuss it. That's a contract. You're already entered in the contract. You're already in court. Court is outside. Court is not in the building. Think about it. The king's court is always outside. Go Google any king's court. They're not inside some goddamn way. They're outside. It's a courtyard. The fuck? Just stop playing games. Once they put you inside the building called a court, and you went for that? Yeah, they got a live one. We got a live one here, y'all. Then they tell you to walk the plank. Oh, my bad. To come on the other side of that bar. So now you're on the ship. And then they're going to tell you to walk the plank, and you're going to walk it. All right, cool. We're not going to get into all that here today. That's a whole nother story. But that's the essence of it is why the brother, the Bay, and the Moor came in and said, nationality order day, goodbye, drop the mic. And if you didn't get that, then he's really telling me I ain't got shit else to talk about. All that other stuff we talking about is just to get y'all involved in what's your nationality at the end of the day. Do you have one? Okay, everybody chime in. What's your nationality? That would be the beginning.
my best to hang in there for the school that I'm taking. I'm taking software development, mobile app development, and software engineering. So yeah, I'm trying to hang in there best I can, because I'm seeing now if they could clap our profiles for speaking the truth, man, and I think it's essential that we start seeing what we need to do to have our own, to own our own platforms. Just a thought. What would be like the steps that it would take, us to establish like a truth-based platform that we don't have to worry about, having other people have to monetize or have to, maintenance the systems, or worry about, just our accounts getting clapped just for speaking and acting on and sharing the truth.
Well, you see all those terms and conditions they have us checking and signing and all that? Right. There's something that supersedes all that. It's called the Constitution. I don't care what laws they come up with. The Constitution supersedes those laws. I have the right to speak freely. You cannot. I don't care what your platform says and states. No country, company, or anybody can violate your rights, because they weren't given to you, can't be taken away, added to, or subtracted from. Now, I did not hurt anybody. Where's my injured party?
Lawful and legal.
My accuser.
Lawful and legal.
Who's my accuser? I should be able to face them.
What are we talking about
she can
here?
bring her attorney. Whoever can bring their whoever they want as counsel. I'm going to bring my Moors in as counsel, my peers, and we can have this discussion all day. All right, cool. Who's next? Let me tell you, the Constitution supersedes any of their laws, statutes, codes, rules, and regulations.
Which one?
Any of them. You mean the organic? I'm talking about the American Constitution that dealt with America, not these United States that changed into the corporation in 1853 and the act that I'm not talking about after that. The original, organic.
What was that based on?
Rights that we already have. The 10 Bill of Rights. After that, you started with amendments. Why would you amend something that was already given to you perfectly? Because you want to change something. Amend to change. Change what? Oh, no, we're just adding on, too. I already told you cannot add on, subtract, take away, move, change. You didn't give me these rights. You can't do nothing with them. All you are here to do is protect those rights. All right, cool. That part. So, now, when they want to get crazy with those amendments, which are 25, 30 amendments right now, so that's more than the 10 Bill of Rights. I just for food for thought. And they're trying to change the whole entire document, which makes it null and void and ab initio in its existence. So all the Moors really deal with is the sixth. Did I violate the treaties? According to the Sixth Amendment, I believe. I have to go back. We can read it. But I did not violate the treaties. Or did I? Prove it. But we're not going to get into all that, because that's a whole nother ball game. And Doc Bay and these other Moors, y'all can hit them up in the back chat. They would love to catch you up to speed. Islam.
Oh,
Peace. Wholeness and balance.
I definitely need y'all to stay here, to stay around. So my encouragement as your brother is to be mindful of the things that we share on their app. But I would definitely be getting with the Empress Divine Idea and expediting her understanding of exactly what's going on. And you brothers definitely continue to share and be mindful. Much love to y'all. Love y'all. Let's grow.
Already.
Well, I'm only here to do the work of the creative. I've been, my whole life I've been banned and all kind of crazy things. So that's cool. Other platforms I'm already being invited to, and I'm doing very well on those other platforms as well. So yeah, We're going to be out here no matter what. You can't stop us. It's just that simple.
Oh man, sound like y'all talking about that straw man. Is that what we
There
talking
she
about?
go.
Because I think it all ties in. Yeah.
Welcome back.
That's my brother's Grand Rising. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. I'm ready to do some shows with y'all too.
Already.
Much love. Always love y'all.
Get them in quick because the way these helicopters flying over these streets, you better do them shows quick. They getting stronger. You know, we getting stronger, so they getting stronger. You know? Power up.
Power up. Let go. I ain't backing down. I was a star before I even knew what a stereo was. I was a star before there was a radio. I was a star before a phone, a computer, a chip. Stop playing. It's a copy of me. Everything that dwells outside of me is a reflection of what's inside of me. So stop playing with me. I'm playing chess, not checkers. You can't jump the king. Don't try and king me. You know, stop playing.
In the age of Aquarius, all is fear and love and war. Which means
is it Warlord or Lord of War? I prefer Warlord.
in war, the pen is mightier than the sword. In love, the pen is mightier than the word itself.
I prefer the sword.
See, what they do is they change the words and they use them as swords against us. So we have to do the same with words. Be careful how we use them.
Let go.
Because they're swords. They're the swords they're the ones that cutting your throat. You're using, and nobody doing nothing to us. We can't. I'm tired of the blame game, bro. I swear I am. It's us doing us dirty. You doing yourself dirty. I don't mean like people trolling and they reporting you so your page can get banned. Not that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your inner self, your shadow.
Your enemy. Your enemy is inside of you. It ain't nobody outside of you.
Because now I want to see you win, not your enemy. Not the inner me. The only way to beat that inner me is with your inner God.
But that's the thing, though. They can't even face their enemy. They so far outside themselves when they look back.
They don't even know they have energy at all because they vibing off someone else's energy. And if I gave you a little bit of light, don't try to take and dim my light. You walked away with a torch lit, but you trying to blow my light out.
On the way out the door. Damn.
Yeah, you blew my shit out, but you ran out with light. That's crazy. All right, cool. Moving on.
Wow.
We got so many in the clip.
All right.
Can't even get to the
I got you.
But let's go.
Man, I'm telling you, all this government documentation tells you who they really want to own. You know what I'm saying? Social Security card, birth certificate, all that stuff. But you do know that you can get dual citizenship as well. You can get up off the rock. You can start by that.
Get up off the rock.
And that was another subject I touched on a little bit in my show about the how to pay zero taxes, crypto, and everything. I touched a little bit on that in that segment. So.
Well, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Let me stop playing. Real talk.
Good morning, gentlemen. Have a beautiful Sunday.
It's a beautiful morning. We putting mornings to bed.
Okay, so
Grand Rising.
Homework assignment. I know. They be like, this dude here be always giving me something to write down. All right. Why not? All right, cool. I mean, if you got a pen and paper handy, cool. If you don't, sit there and just soak in some more sun. Whatever. See the sun behind my head, right? So everybody's not here for me. They're here for that sunshine behind me. Go ahead and enjoy it.
That light,
The sun
that
is up.
star.
All right, cool. So, write this down. CESTUI space QUE space VIE. Can somebody come back and tell me what that is? It also has to do with the trust. This is the beginning and probably the end of our conversation about trust, but this is the gist of it right there. All right, cool. So those who just coming in, we're gonna
Wait a
delve
minute.
into that particular trust. Did you Google? You have it for me, or because I wanted to go and finish this other document that we was listening to, but
What was it?
Finish getting through it.
What was it? Spell it again.
You want me to say it again? All right, cool. Pay attention. It's C. Hold on. 1 second. It goes like this: CESTUI space QUE space VIE.
V.
V as in Victor, I as in Igloo, E as in Edward. C as in Charlie, E as in Edward, S as in Sam, T as in Tango, U as in Umbrella.
All right, buddy.
R as in... Oh, okay. You know, don't let me get military on you. Charlie, Echo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform.
What is SESTUI KV? SESTUI KV is French for he who lives. It is a legal term for an individual who is the beneficiary of a trust or an insurance policy, with rights to property and the income and profits that the property provides. A SESTUI K trust is the person entitled to an equitable, rather than legal, trust in the estate assets. The concept is used in modern life and health insurance policies, where SESTUI KV is an individual whose life measures the duration of the insurance contract. In these contracts, SESTUI KV is known as the policyholder, insured, or policy owner. Key takeaway. In French, SESTUI KV means he who lives. The legal term describes the person who is the beneficiary and has rights to property in an estate. SESTUI KV is often used today in life and health insurance policies.
You got it?
Yeah. Now you see why you have to have insurance? I bet everybody in here got some kind of insurance. All right, cool. Keep it going.
Policies. How SESTUI KV works. SESTUI KV as a legal concept dates to the medieval period,
Wait a minute.
specifically England. During this time, the owners of farms and other properties could be absent for extended periods of time as they traveled, whether for business or religious purposes. It became important to ensure that family members, business partners, or tenants could use the property without fear of it being expropriated by feudal lords. While the individual was away, a trustee took care of the land, but did not retain legal ownership over the property. The trust often relied on a good faith understanding between the parties. In practice, it was often a way to...
Yeah, let's finish these messages. We'll get back to that real quick. I don't want to get out of that.
The way to establishing that, we would have to build a crypto ecosystem where they do not have any control control over it. We have control. We, the people, have the currency to create that, and the people who hold the currency can place whatever platforms that they want within that ecosystem, whether it be an app or a website.
We already putting it together right now.
Mm-hmm.
We setting up the
Well, crypto
Go ahead.
means vault. So the hidden vault. What is the hidden vault? We have to define that first. What is the hidden vault for us? It doesn't mean it's the same for, we don't have to do everything the same as everybody. We can create our own. We already got our own things. We just got to tap into it. Don't reinvent the wheel now. We'll get into all of that, though. But it's about real, tangible things. Not things that has no fungibility, and it's too volatile. You want more security, more generational wealth, if you will, and not this fly-by-night wealth. You see these buildings they're putting up these days, they're puzzle pieces. They put them together like puzzles. That's not real. Nothing's real anymore. The food, the buildings, where we live, the grass. Yeah, we're turning into this virtual reality world, and we're cool with it. I don't know. All right, cool.
Wow, that's amazing. I just recently have been introduced to Dr. Bay on this app, and Malik Bay as well. And I'm so interested in this concept. However, I know that I've spoken with a lot of young brothers that have said you have to be careful, you got to know what you're doing, but it's doable. And I've been working on trying to figure out, because I hear what you're saying and it makes perfect sense. However, I'm just curious to know, how can a contract like my birth certificate, which, let me get the next one.
You ever Googled the numbers on the back of your birth certificate?
No, wait. I want to hear the next question. You giving up too much? We getting there. We can get there. I don't want to confuse the rest of the people. Like, wait, what? And then they go into that, and they you ahead of the game, Mr. Machiavelli. 1 second, we're gonna get there, but I can see where she's going. That's where we're going next, but let's go.
Which I had no control over. How can someone legally place you in a contract that you did not have or give authorization? For example, my birth certificate, I didn't give authorization for that. It was just given to me.
Did you?
And I was told. So technically, my parents were the ones that
got your footprint on it.
me into that contract, and their parents theirs. And
Got
so
your blood on it, though.
So how is that legal? And what can I do to get out of it?
Well, see, thing is, hold on 1 second. The thing is, you just said it without even answering the question for you. You answered your own question. You said, okay, if I didn't create this contract, this trust, this thing, why am I obligated to use it or oblige by it or anything? But yet, I do. And now, feels like I'm being penalized for using it. Whose fault is that? Now, also, does that make the birth certificate any more legit? Sure it does. Because it says as long as this entity thing is a minor, it's attached to you. You're a ward of the state if something happens to the parent. Well, you've been a ward of the state since you left the hospital, but that's another story. But since you're a ward of the state property, what do we do with our property? Whatever they want to do with their property. Are you their property? Yes. Why? Because you have not gone in there and told them, this here birth certificate It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. I like to authenticate it. So you can put your seal on it and prove that it belongs to you. Yeah, if it is mine, then I want ownership of it. So if it does belong to me, stamp it. Go ahead, give me the seal on it and let me know it's mine. Now, when they do that, for your entertainment purposes only, you can use that and keep it in a safe place. Oh shit, that bowl we was talking about. Yeah. So then now, if anybody wants to use that document, they would probably have to go through your bowl. All right, cool. Let's not go any further than that. You're going to have to speak to Dr. Bay and the Moors and the brothers. I am not going down that road again. The emperor told me to hold fast. All right, cool. Let's go.
That's right. Speak truth, brother. Speak truth. You know, we got to know this law. We have to know this law. If you live on this soil, you must know the law of the soil that you live in, or you're subject to whatever they tell you to do.
Well, by lawful definition, man is land, and man is mind. So if all is mental, man is land, land is mind. How can you let somebody take your mind away?
By letting them govern your mental.
How can you let someone take your man away? Same thing. How can you let someone take your land away? So that's 3 different levels, 3 dimensions that they done robbed the matriarch. They took her land, her man, and her mind, and we're trying to put that back together. Who's with me? Let's go.
I appreciate you. Hi, Dr. Bay. That's my doctor. Yes, honey. I'm going to school. I'm about to come about this. And trust me and believe, brothers, when I do, I got something for y'all. Even before I do, I got something for y'all. And is that King Cooley? The voice I'm hearing? Because I don't see
I don't
your
think
name
so.
there, so
Someone please call 911. Cooley's been shot down, and the body's still not cold.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you realize if you look up and see if King Cooley is still following you. Everybody do that. Make sure y'all still following King Cooley. He's following y'all. And if not, then just follow me instead. That part. All right, cool. What else we got, Mr. Machiavelli?
And I'm going to tell y'all, too, also get yourselves over to gab.com. That's a place where the troopers speak, okay, where you can have your own voice and your community. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody going to bother you over there. So anybody who's down with that, follow me at gab.com. Send me any links, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This family is networking. You know what it is.
Peace, Empress to the Empress. Oh, for the record, and let the record show. Just for the record, and let the record show, you don't have to give me anything. Islam, I require nothing from you. Absolutely nothing except love, your honesty, your peace, your friendship, your ability to contract with me equally on a fair basis or whatever, but I require nothing from you. This is knowledge. Knowledge is told. It's not sold. Now, if I know something, and like I know how to build a house, and I said, you know what, I know how to build this house over here. You're like, yeah, let me see. And I never built a house in my life, so I go, no, I never built a house, but I know how to do it. Man, I don't believe you until you show me you know how to build a house. All right, cool. So I have knowledge of it. I watch it on YouTube, whatever. I have done it. No. Do I know how to do it? Yes. So now I go do the thing, build this house. I come back, Mr. Machiavelli, look, I could build a house. Let me see. You built one? Yeah. With my own hands. There you go. Oh, shit. Okay. So you know knowledge. You know how to build that house. Yeah, I have knowledge. But not only that, I have wisdom. What do you mean? Not only do I know how to build it, I've applied what I know. And now we can physically see it in the manifestation from nothing to something. That's called wisdom. Wow. All right, cool. Now, how can I get some of this wisdom? Well, I will have to teach you what I know. So here you go. Wow, so now I know. Yeah. Have you built the house? No. Well, why not? Where's your wisdom? I have wisdom, knowledge, what I applied, and it worked for me. May not work for you. You have to apply it. You might do some adjustments, rearrangements to the house, so it applies and fits to you. So now you show me your house. It doesn't look like mine. It looks like your house. Oh, shit. You built your house. Yeah, with the knowledge you gave me. I applied it, and now it's wisdom. I said, wow, so I have a house, you have a house. We both now have what? Understanding. Now we both understand that we know how to build a house because we've applied that knowledge, and we both know how to share that knowledge with any other people we want.
God damn it! When I get to move in, fuck.
I know, right? But what I'm saying is, you see how you can build a community. That's all I'm saying. All right, cool. Let's go, man, before I keep talking.
Brothers, I see that as people of light, we have the ability to utilize our alchemical skills. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. I don't have to really get into deepness about that. But you are protected by the light. There is absolutely nothing that can harm you, especially when it can't see you. You know what I'm saying? I think you understand me.
Yes. Well, it's like the government coming after man when man created the government. It would be the same if man came after God. You're not gonna win. Not that I'm that which created my trolls, but maybe I did create my trolls within me. So I am the destroyer also, if I'm the creator. You know that part. Always remember that, though, everybody. If you created something, you can destroy it. All right, cool.
And you talk about the doing dirty. I mean, they've been playing yo-yo with our money for a long time. And I really believe that it's truly designed to impoverish us. And I get that. I'm just trying to get out from under this 8-ball pendulum wrecking hammer, whatever. And so, yeah, man, I'm getting out, and they can't hold me. Period. So I know that it's going to be a process, and I'm working on that. I've got to learn first, though. And I appreciate you. I bow.
Get up, my child. Get up.
You're my mother. You're my mother. And
don't bow to me.
You do some stuff.
Get
you
up.
Understand what I mean? That's why you're the mother. You're my mother. You're every male Moor in his mother. And they know what I'm talking about.
Zero.
Right, cool.
Everything comes from nothing.
Forget that you are God. And I don't mean that in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality. You get me? I know you know where I'm going.
Yes. And thankful for Stereo that we have a lot of quality that they're allowing to speak freely. I mean, most of the fulfilling classes are about, nationality on here, about color of law and this, that, and the other. And I can see it spreading, a lot through Stereo and through all the other streets. I know a lot of us get the backlash because, it's like the media. If you hear bad things about us in the media, you're going to follow the same things until you meet and talk to one of us in person. then you can make a sound and just
rational
decision. But don't do that before you've ever talked to one. Like that part. All right, cool. You know, it's guaranteed. If it doesn't resonate with your ancestry and your soul, then yes, you're not a Moor. Not everybody is. I'm not going to say everybody's a Moor. I'm one of those that said, no, not everybody. But not because of your skin color. That's what let me make that point. Doesn't mean you're a Moor because you look like me. That part I have a lot of disagreement with. I believe it has a lot to do with frequencies as well as your blood. All right, cool. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm sick of that backlash mess that they like to do. But Dr. Bay challenged me not to use the word black. And I keep slipping up. And there's somebody outside my window cutting the grass. So if you hear that noise in the background, I apologize. But what do you all think about using the term Afro-Americanus to describe a black person? What do you think about that? And I know we're off your topic, so I'm going to stop talking.
What's an Afro-Americana and what is black? Because black is without color, pale, void.
Well, is it an American with an afro? That part,
I don't know.
Because a lot of Americans with afros, and it doesn't matter their complexion. Well, we're just humans at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm just a spiritual being here in the finite.
As far as races, there's only one. Now, as far as frequencies, there are many. I deal on frequencies. I deal on that. That's what I deal.
You got jokes. Quit playing games. I'm trying to find another name. Give me one then.
I mean, think about it. A Jewish guy come in with an afro, I'm like, shit, you know I'm Afro-Americano.
You already know. Stop playing.
Me, I look just like y'all.
I'm rocking the afro with a yarmulke on top. Stop playing. I'm a Jewish Afro-American, and I ate a taco put an Mexican on the end.
Right, so that part. All right, cool. Why not more? I mean, let's just see what is wrong. You know, it's funny.
Because they say them Moors, them people. I don't know about them Moors. They. I don't know.
I just want to say, like, you can say anything else. Like, they'll call us 99. See, that's why it says, I got 99 problems, but a Moor ain't one. I mean, you ever heard that? Well, they're going to make sure we could be called 99 different things. As soon as you say Moor, nope, not that one.
Not that one.
Like, wait, whoa. Why not that one? Let's just get into why not that one. Everywhere you go, it's like, not that one. But why not? Oh, I get it. All the laws across the lands, all over the lands have that word in all their laws and stuff. So you can't use that one. That can't be y'all. Anything else, please pick anything. Anything. Y'all can be Asian, American, African, Europeans if y'all want, but you cannot be a Moor. Y'all can be humanitarian, earthly beings. Say y'all just eartharians.
Why not more?
More. Right, exactly. I don't know. It's just funny to me when I go through all my histories and studies and lessons and people and all different race, color, creed.
It's funny. They could be whatever they wanna be. They get to be whatever they wanna be.
Why that one? And they still always tell me, well, why that one? I'm like, why do you have to be that? I'm like, damn, I don't tell nobody they're not Cherokee. I don't tell nobody they're not nothing else. If you could be a man in a woman's body, I don't even tell you you're not that. I'll call you, what you say, a woman? Okay, ma'am. That's what you want. Listen, as soon as I say who I am and I'm all that I am, it's a problem. As soon as I'm getting divorced and me and my wife are separated, but we still have love for each other, and you can stay out of my business because she has a boyfriend that I'm cool with. So if you want to call her, we can call her, but stay out of my business. I'm cool with my peoples. I'm not liking in y'all relationships. Like, y'all play games and everything y'all do in life. I deal with everything with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Everything. How do I show my kids love if I can't show love to their mama? Are you kidding? Y'all got shit happen backwards. All right, cool. We're going to continue. Because this ain't got nothing to do with that. But it does have to do with trust. It all starts with who do you trust? Name 5 people you can trust right now. Put it on a piece of paper. Yeah, that part. And so how you going to make a trust and you can't trust nobody to be your beneficiaries or your trustees? All right, that part, cool. Let's go. That's the hardest part, finding a trustee. And then you can trust. All right, cool.
Did you say the Jackson 500? Afros with yarmulkes? Y'all tripping.
I was a comedian in a past life. I'm not so good at it this lifetime. I do, I thought it said comedy up there. I tried. I apologize. I stepped out the box. Let me go back in the box. Okay, I'm gonna take the yarmulke off. I'm gonna just put a pick in the side, and then we're gonna fry it and then dye it and then lay it to the left side. Okay, cool. How about that?
Well, I don't know if we want to get back to the Sesquity Trust or the private trust. I think we should start with the Sesquity back again when we get a chance.
I'd rather you do it just fine. Have me over here tripping.
Cause I got some dreads, me, all the way down my back. You feel me? So, okay, we can be the dread American.
We like the good cop, bad cop. King is, pardon yourself. Mr. Houdini's always on some shit. He's, hey, lighten up. I'm like, you lighten up. You see my complexion dark as a mug.
And then Machiavelli coming this bitch. Hey, put your hands behind your back. What you talking about?
I look good. I look like chocolate gold out this piece.
Well, if you look good, I look great. Lord have mercy on me. Woo, amazing. Amazing grace. How did I go there? Okay, cool. Okay, no more messages. Wait a minute. Talk about it.
Alright, cool.
Oh yeah, I was finna keep going. Hold up. Let me see. Okay, cool. Wait a minute. Where we was at? Okay, there we were. Okay, boo. There we go.
To avoid paying taxes by granting land and property to the church, which was exempt from taxation, while still allowing descendants to reside in and enjoy the estates. Henry VIII, under his advisors Thomas Cromwell and Thomas More, attempted to invalidate Sesquity KV trusts, a process continued under the English Reformation. 1666. The year the British government enacted the Sesquity KV Act. Sesquity KV is now a part of modern law. Later, however, after the Great Plague of 1665 and the Great Fire of 1666 had destroyed London,
stop right there. They tried to fuck some shit up. Shit.
You see what happened? They opened, they came in 1666 to cover up what? They had famine, plagues, all kind of shit was going down in Europe. So how they had this whole empire of people to do some shit to put people in slavery? It didn't exist. They were running, hiding, sicknesses and deaths. Come on now, let's keep going. This is 1666 now, but they had all these empires and worldwide stuff to do things. Listen now, y'all pay attention.
They ain't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw out of.
Pay attention.
Enacted the Sesquity KV Act in 1666, which reinstated the legal concept. After those twin catastrophes, hundreds of thousands of British citizens died or fled. In response, the government took all private property into the trust until the proper heirs or owners could be identified, the Sestuike KV. Some parts of the 1666 Act are still law in the United Kingdom. The legal concepts behind Sestuike KV changed a bit over the centuries in order to reduce fraud
Here we go.
and to ensure that property owners couldn't shift their property into trusts in order to dodge creditors. More recently, laws against property held in perpetuity required that parties named as the beneficiaries in a trust should vest, and thus have an interest in the trust rather than passively receive benefits. When a trust is created, it is done for the benefit of a specific individual who is identified in the trust document. In a trust, the Sestuike trust is the person who has an equitable interest in the trust. The legal title of the trust, however, is given to the trustee. Sestuike use, or he who uses, is the person for whose benefit the trust is made. During the medieval period, Sestuike use arrangements became so common that they were often assumed to be present even when they had not been arranged.
Oh, my damn dog. Trying to jump at some stuff. All right, cool. Stay. Don't move. All right, cool. That was it?
Yeah, that was it.
Grand Rising, Mr. Houdini. And Grand Rising, Crypto.
Hey.
So, the only story that I have ever been told about where we all come from that makes sense to me is the way you tell it, Mr. Houdini. There's a couple other people that tell it the same way you do, and that makes sense to me also. I think there's some younger Moors that don't quite grasp it yet, but I guess they're still learning. But it's the only story that makes sense to me, especially now with the way that things are going and the way that all this crazy shit we're learning. So thank you for that.
Well, no, thank you, because you're actually one of my favorite listeners. I don't know why, not because you're always there, you always support, not because, the monetary support either, but when you speak, I can show you, if I took a picture, I have goosebumps, like on my arms every time you talk. Something about your energy, and your life, what you're going through, that somehow is connected to my skin. And I'm gonna take a picture next time. I have goosebumps on my arm. All right, cool. Well, that's for another day. But yeah, appreciate you always. You already know, Jen Rich.
Hey.
How we do.
Hey. Talk about it. Hey, you already know, man.
It could be related in the past life and stuff. Like, I believe in a lot of stuff. Like, people are connected here in this life because of things that we've done in the last life. Some things we haven't finished. Some things we owe people. Some things they owe us. And they're just trying to repay or redo or we fix things that we couldn't fix in the last frequency. They're not lifetimes. They're actually levels of frequencies. All right, long story short, yeah, appreciate y'all. Everybody in the room is on the same frequency right now.
You wanna go in there, a fiduciary?
Yeah, what, you finished the Sestuike KV?
Yeah, that was the end of it, basically.
Alright, cool. So I'm gonna finish this part.
All right,
the
bet.
private trust. It's only a little bit more, about 20 minutes. And common law injury, if you're not hurting anyone, you're not injuring anyone, you're not breaking contracts, as long as you're not doing things that are injurious to others. Exactly. Then that's the only law. The actions that you do on behalf of the trust, in my opinion, and this is not legal advice, you stand a very good chance to not be able to be held up in court by a statute of a state, because that state statute is not superior to your
jurisdiction
obligations, and that's what Article Section 10 of the Constitution.
Constitution supreme law over any of that. Right, Article 1. Y'all want to go back and write that down? Article 1.
All right, so
I'm going to play it again. My bad, y'all, because it's important. It's important. I'm going to back up, play. That's what we do. Education.
You start to see how,
if you want to watch it straight through,
trust
you're going to have to find it.
can open up a huge
We're going to stop it. We're going to
of freedoms for you. When you start to see the licenses that are required by statutes, and you start to see all the regulation that is brought on by statutes, and then you start to see that you can create a trust that enables you to do things outside of the statutory regulation, and then by being obligated to perform the trust duties, the state can't get in the way of those duties. So it's basically like that. So as long as you're not creating a common law injury, if you're not hurting anyone, you're not injuring anyone, you're not breaking contracts, as long as you're not doing things that are injurious to others, then the actions that you do on behalf of the trust, in my opinion, and this is not legal advice, you stand a very good chance to not be able to be held up in court by a statute of a state, because that state statute is not superior to your trustee obligations, and that's what Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution is all about.
Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Article 1, Section 10.
All right, so
pull it up. We're going to read it. We can pull it up and we'll read it.
As a general proposition,
Article 1, Section 10. We might want to see what that's about before we continue. Let's do it like that.
What the what?
Yeah, I'd just rather do it like that because we'll never get back to it probably if we don't see Article 1, Section 10. See what he's talking about. Shout out everybody who's still here, man. I appreciate y'all for listening. Dr. Bay, Emperor, Divine Idea, the Empress Chloe, I am the Sun, Jen Rich, the Empress, Emperor Keezy, Emperor Fuck you. What it do, my guy? Shout out to this guy, Dave, Zach, my guy, and Crystal, the Empress. What it do, y'all? I'm in the building. Mr. Houdini, you already know how we do. I got Mr. Machiavelli sitting next to me. We out here, man. Who do you trust? Name 5 people you can trust right now. So you can put as trustees. Who can you name as trustees? You don't have to give me your name. Mama, daddy, cousin, sister.
I got my
friend.
5.
Just say that.
It's only a few 5? Out here.
Can you trust 5? That's all I need to know. Can you trust 5 people?
Some people can't trust 3 people. Shit.
If something was to happen to you,
4 out of 5 ain't even family members.
That's a big question right now. All right, cool. So do we have the Constitution?
I'm working on it. Talk about it.
Okay, so I'll continue.
Article 1, Section 10. All right, I'm there, man. Wait. Ain't no Section 10. Oh, there it is. Let's go. Section 10. You ready?
Let's go.
Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit,
wait a minute,
make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts,
wait a minute,
any bill of attainder, ex post facto law. Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports, except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws, and the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of the Congress. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state, or with a foreign power, or engage in war, unless actually invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay.
Now, think about that. So is Congress appointing Federal Reserve notes backed by nothing but except the faith and credit of the people? And we're being charged a tax for using it because it's a foreign entity, nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. So is the Congress usurping us and going against constitutional law? Good question. I continue on. Is it my turn?
That was the end of section 10.
All right, cool. So now we're going to go back to this gentleman and see what he was talking about section 10 and put it in context. Now, what it's all about, let's put it back in context.
And then by being obligated to perform the trust duties, the state can't get in the way of those duties. So it's basically like that. So as long as you're not creating a common law injury, if you're not hurting anyone, you're not injuring anyone, you're not breaking contracts, as long as you're not doing things that are injurious to others, and the actions that you do on behalf of the trust, in my opinion, and this is not legal advice, you stand a very good chance to not be able to be held up in court by a statute of a state, because that state statute is not superior to your trustee obligations, and that's what Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution is all about. Anyway, we'll continue on. Let's see. All right, so as a general proposition, it may be asserted that one who creates a trust may mold it into whatever form he pleases, and that whatever one may lawfully do himself, he may authorize another to do for him. Doing so requires no benefit, privilege, or franchise from any government or other outside party. So hear that out. And therefore, the parties owe no duty to any government or other outside party to the extent that no common law, criminal, or civil wrong is the purpose of the contract. All right, so you can't make a common law, criminal, or civil wrong the purpose. So remember, statutory, what they call criminal law, oftentimes is has nothing to do with crime, right? All right, when there's non-injurious crimes that they create, and then they cause people to be fined and have to put up all this sorts of money. Now you're talking about an oppressive system, potentially, that's robbing people off of statutory rules and regulations that have nothing to do with actual crimes. So you start to see where the fact that the operating out of a trust, out of a private express trust, puts you outside of that jurisdiction. All right, let's see if there's anything in footnotes that we want to read to you guys, because I would certainly suggest when you guys download this handbook, you read every bit of the footnotes. You guys, it is very, very good information there. So I'm going to just pick and choose here. All right. President Woodrow He says, liberty is always personal, never aggregate, always a thing inhering in individuals taken singly, never in groups or corporations or communities. The individual unit of society is the individual. So that's what we've been talking about for a while, you guys. So when we see the word individual under statutory law, you can think of that as a slice of the franchise.
Right. So you're not an individual.
And
I am not an individual. I say that every day, all the time. People say, well, we're individuals. No, speak for yourself.
Exercising the privilege of being whatever that individual franchisee, if you will, is. That might be a resident of a state. But an individual is the individual unit of society. Initially, right, when the Constitution first began, you probably had yourself free state citizens, and then as things began to take shape, you had more and more rights taken away and traded into privileges and all sorts of deceptions. But nonetheless, we continue on. It has long been held that trustees of express trusts have greater latitude than ordinary trustees, simply because such trusts created by individuals sui juris may do whatever individuals sui juris may do. A person who creates a trust may mold it into whatever form he pleases. All right. And Hale versus Henkel is referred at number 11, where he talks about doing so requires no benefit, privilege, or franchise from any government or outside party. So if you guys haven't checked out Hale versus Henkel, it's very much worth the case to check out. You start to see that when a man doesn't take on benefits and privileges, then he doesn't owe a right or anything to
the state,
to any government to declare his paperwork and to basically allow himself to be subject to investigation and scrutiny. He starts to take on benefits. He starts to take on liabilities at that point, regulatory duties.
Contractual law.
All right. When done properly, the trust is afforded all the common law protections ordinarily given to private contracts, particularly the obligation of them. And that's when he refers 13 down below. It says in Berry versus McCourt, the court held that the express trust is a contractual relationship based on the trust form. And in Smith versus Morse, 2 Cal 524, it was held that any law or procedure in its operation denying or obstructing rights impairs the contractual obligation and is therefore violative of Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Because the express trust is created by the exercise of the natural right to contract, which cannot be abridged, the agreement, when executed, becomes protected under federally enforceable right of contract law and not under laws passed by any of the several state legislatures. In Elliott versus Freeman, 220 U.S. 178 in 1911, the court made it clear that the express trust is not subject to legislative control. Hear that, you guys? The express trust is not subject to legislative control. We say one more time. In Elliott versus Freeman, 220 U.S. 178, 1911, the court made it clear that the express trust is not subject to legislative control. It went further to acknowledge that the right-wise stance of the United States Supreme Court that the trust relationship comes under the realm of equity based upon the common law right of contract and is not subject to legislative restrictions as are corporations and other organizations created by legislative authority. And I'll even throw in the word individuals there, because individuals of society are created by legislative authority.
Created by legislative authority. Created by legislative authority. If you're an individual or claim as such, you are created by a legislative authority.
Guys, the whole last paragraph is huge. To clarify the equity and common law distinctions, the basis for express trusts under the common law in this instance is not that such organizations are creatures of common law, as distinguished from equity, but that they are created under the common law of contracts and do not depend upon any statute. Okay, so I hope you guys took that whole last paragraph in. It's enormous. All right, let's continue. The declaration, I'm sorry.
Y'all still with us, man? telling you, this is important.
I'm still with you. They still with us.
To the contract are truly acting sui juris of their pure.
I don't know why they here. I'm just joking.
Sui juris, positive law. All right, cool. Say again, Mr. Machiavelli.
I'm talking. I ain't said nothing.
Any questions? Questions before we move on? Come on, y'all gotta have some questions. After that, I might not be able to answer them, but hey, he talking. Now let's go.
Rights, because if the parties import or associate benefits which grant an outside party a vested interest in the proposed contract, then the contract has acquired a third-party overseer/intervener. Okay, and that's when he points out Lee Brops. If you haven't checked out Lee Brops, USA, the Republic is the house that no one lives in. I'd highly suggest.
The Republic is the house that nobody lives in. I'll give you a few minutes to Google that. Store it, save it as a bookmark, come back to it later, maybe order the book or whatever, but it's probably key to your salvation here in these republics. Because we're still in a republic, not a democratic form of government.
We still in the house. We just don't know where we live.
Amazing.
You know, you just don't know the house is yours.
Exactly.
They call it the White House. But we call it Casa Blanca. Now, Casablanca is the capital of what? Oh, shit, Morocco. All right, cool. Why is that? Why is the White House in America and Casablanca, White House, is the capital of Morocco? Ooh, pay attention. In Morocco.
Treatise, if you will, by Lee Brops. Rest in peace, Lee. All right, so yeah, I was just speaking on the call last night with brothers in this movement. I'll keep his name for now, but nonetheless, he was pointing out just this very thing, and he was talking about the Federal Reserve notes. How it was his opinion that the Federal Reserve note allowed the title of the purchased property to go into the hands of the Federal Reserve, while we just had equitable use of it. And that's an interesting theory for sure that certainly is more than plausible. As Carlton Weiss is pointing out right here.
Basically, the money you think you own in your pocket, in your possession, don't belong to you. It belongs back to the Federal Reserve. They all have serial number on it. Why? So that they can return. It can return back to its sender. Every dollar, so-called dollar, they expect it to come back. Now, you can burn it, rip it up, write on it, steal it, but those are against so-called law. Now, the reason why, because they want it to return to sender. So they're banking on the fact that they can send it out there as energy. As no energy, really, because it was backed by nothing. They just created on a machine. But when it comes back to them, it comes back with your blood, sweat, and tears on it. So long story short, at the end of the day, it's only good as the people accept it. Once we stop accepting it as fun, now we want Bitcoins. So we saying fuck the dollar. Yay to the Bitcoin. But all you're doing is putting yourself into another system of the same systems. All right, cool.
Oftentimes people think that they are acting of their own right, of their pure, unadulterated common law natural rights, but if they start using outside benefit, such as Federal Reserve notes, then you're importing outside benefits which could produce a result of outside interest in this contract that you've created. It's not a pure bilateral contract between yourself, the grantor, and whoever the trustee may be, and whatever ways that you create this trust. You don't want to bring in outside benefits into this contract, you guys. So that's why, as you read this document, you'll see that Carlton suggests that you use some gold as a way of placing some property into the trust. That is what they call.
Pay attention. close attention.
Portable land, as Carl Weiss points out, portable land. So the Constitution and its protections go with the land, and so this being a form of portable land and a value that is not created by third-party benefit. And so because of that, he says that that is the best form of your res of the trust that you're going to be able to use to create a solid trust. All right. Declaration of the Express Trust. The Declaration of Trust is the trust instrument that constitutes the trust. It has been noted in trust law that no technical expressions are required to create a valid declaration, so long as the words make clear the settler's intent to create the trust or confer a benefit of some sort that would be best carried out in the form of a trust. A trust instrument does not necessarily need to be a declaration either, for a trust may be and often is formed out of a simple agreement or even a will. But with an express trust, it's a living will has been preferred since the beginnings of trusts under the common law of England, which otherwise shunned fictions of law. So you heard it right there, you guys.
Fictions of law.
The declaration has been the preferred method for creating express trusts since the beginnings of trusts themselves under the common law of England, which otherwise shunned fictions of law. We're swimming in fictions of law right now, you guys, in this 2019. And for a long time, we've been swimming in fictions of law. We need to get ourselves out of this fictions of law and get ourselves back into natural rights. Okay, so let's continue. This is where careful attention to detail is most crucial, because in order to properly construe the intent of the settler, the objects, the property and manner in which all is to be carried out must be set forth in unambiguous, precise language so as to particularly create the express trust. And where the intent of the settler is unclear, under equity, interpretation is required to construe the intent of the parties, and the trust may be deemed invalid, depending on the degree of ambiguity. However, when all is done properly, obviously there is no lawful impairment of the obligations of a contract. And again, he points out, see the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 10 from 1789. No state may pass any law that impairs the obligation of a contract. And so, big things, you guys, there. All right, so moreover, the declaration, by its terms and provisions, serves to establish the entire contractual arrangement, including the identities and positions of the parties, the trust's name, jurisdiction, and situs, and all particulars of administration, all of which the courts of equity will fully support by the principle that equity compels performance. The ultimate result is the creation of a bona fide legal entity with its own separate and distinct juridical personality, with standing to sue and be sued, and to function as a person in commerce by and through its trustees. So the trust is the person. You see that, you guys? The trust itself is the person. And
you are the trust. Who can you trust? See, we're getting somewhere. Let's go.
Operated by its trustees, who then are taking protections under Article 1, Section 10, and as state citizens, right? They're persons in a sense, but they're not the persons in commerce. The trust is the commerce instrument, and the trustees are acting as a man or a woman, right? So here we go. Let's continue on. The term natural person has been applied to express trusts by courts of equity because of its administration being carried out by men acting as natural persons. All right, so let's go down here to number 24, because you're gonna sit there and you're gonna question, well, who's the person, right? Is the trust the person? Is the trustee the person? Well, let's go down here and look at what he has in his footnote, because you're gonna blow your mind here right now. This is huge, you guys. We were talking about this last night on the call. All right, check this out. A generally unknown fact is that there are several types of citizens now existing in America. The trustees of an express trust may seek protection under the Constitution as state citizens throughout the Union of States, a jurisdiction outside the scope of the 14th Amendment, which we will discuss in a later. However, It should also be noted of all citizenship, 14th Amendment or otherwise, that jurisdiction over natural and artificial persons is distinguished without a fundamental difference. This stems, surprisingly, from the operation of in rem jurisdiction, which underlies all civil law. All right, you guys, so that right there should blow your mind in two different ways, that state citizens can come in that trustees of an express trust can come under the protection of as a state citizen outside the scope of the 14th Amendment. That should blow your mind. And then it should also be noted of all citizenship, 14th Amendment or otherwise, that jurisdiction over natural and artificial persons is distinguished without a fundamental difference because of the operation, and that's keyword again, operation of in rem jurisdiction, which underlies all civil law. So you sit here, you think to yourself, well, what are you talking about, Greg, about operation? Well, in rem. In rem means thing. So we have talking about things. And we're not talking about men and women when we talk about things, but they're talking about the court gains jurisdiction over 14th Amendment or otherwise, persons, natural or artificial, through the operation of in rem jurisdiction, which underlies what? All civil law. So why are we talking about just civil law? Is it just civil law, you ask, Greg? Well, check it out. Though all courts are familiar with the action in personam against persons, it is the
Hello. How is your day?
In rem against things, which though practiced only in maritime law, that's law of the sea, stealthily operates. There it is again, operates. Remember operation of law, you guys. It's operations of law happen as a 1, 2, 3. You do this happens, you give jurisdiction, they presume it, you give it, or whatever. The operations that happen as a result of actions then creates things. So let's continue. Stealthily operates in every civil and criminal court. Let me read that again. Though all courts are familiar with the actions in personam against persons, it is the actions in rem against things which
Are you a person is the question. Those are actions against persons. What is a person? Get out your Black's Law Dictionary. What is a person? I'm not going to do that right now. That's homework. We're going to continue on.
Though practiced only in maritime law, stealthily, meaning hidden, operates, meaning it's in the operation of the cogs of the wheel, right, of the machine of this courtroom. So it's only practiced openly in maritime law, in rem, only practiced openly in maritime law. It stealthily, covertly, hidden, operates in every, not just one or two, in every civil and criminal court. I apologize, you guys, for being so adamant about this, but you guys got to see this. This principle is one of the least understood in its entirety. Okay, why is it least understood? We have an action against things, you guys, in every court case that you deal with. Every court case you go to is dealing with an in rem jurisdiction, is what is being told to you right now. Every single court case, not one, not two, not three, everyone. Which one, Greg? Civil or criminal? Both. Civil and criminal. How is it happening, Greg? Let's continue. In rem, meaning things, jurisdiction over a man or woman can only exist if the man or woman is a slave, i.e. property, or
that part
as an object, in which case his or her disposition at law is no different than if he or she were a horse or other goods. See the Zong, Gregson versus Gilbert, 99 ER 3 colons 233 KB.
Got 99 problems, but a slave ain't one.
You want to go check it out? I read it.
I say got 99 problems, but a slave ain't one.
Slave seems to be the only one.
Everybody.
All right, cool. We're going to back up a little bit and see how that happened. Because they put everybody under this SESQ-V trust. Your birth certificate. They created the birth certificate, threw you up under the trust. Now you belong to them as property. Okay, let's go.
Practiced openly in maritime law, if stealthily, covertly, hidden, operates in every, not just one or two, in every civil and criminal court. I apologize, you guys, for being so adamant about this, but you guys got to see this. This principle is one of the least understood in its entirety. Okay, why is it least understood? We have an action against things, you guys, in every court case that you deal with. Every court case you go to is dealing with an in rem jurisdiction, is what is being told to you right now. Every single court case, not one, not two, not three, everyone. Which one's, Greg, civil or criminal? Both, civil and criminal. How is it happening, Greg? Let's continue. In rem, meaning things, jurisdiction over a man or woman can only exist if the man or woman is a slave, i.e. property, or res, an object, in which case his or her disposition at law is no different than if he or she were a horse or other goods.
A resi?
The Zong, Gregson versus Gilbert, 99
What's your
ER,
resident? What's your address? Where you stay? They always want to know what's your residence, what's your address.
Right, I have a domicile here. My bad. All right, cool. Now he's going to name a document. Let's see what he's talking about.
Can only exist if the man or woman is a slave, i.e. property, or res, an object, in which case his or her disposition at law is no different than if he or she were a horse or other goods. See the Zong, Gregson versus Gilbert, 99 ER 3 233 KB 1783. So he's giving you a court case. If you want to go check it out, I've read it. It's pretty wild. But we're talking about the Zong court case, Gregson versus Gilbert. All right, let's continue on. In nature, in rem jurisdiction is exercised over men and women by their creator exclusively. Okay, so you're the creation of your creator, and that's the only one who could treat you, if you will.
Only one above you. Everything else is under man. Everything else is under the woman and man, and the child, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You created it all. How can you now bow to that which you created? Will God bow to you? Never. Let's go.
A sub what they are. And I don't mean that in a negative way, so please do not take that in a negative way. No one, he's saying, on this earth can treat you as a slave. He's saying your creator is the only one who could ever say, I have some...
How do we know that? Abdullah. Servant of Allah only. I'm Abdullah. That's about it. Let's go. We in the building.
Jurisdiction over you in those ways. Maybe not to make you my slave, way that commonly is thought of as a slave, but again, no man or woman can do that over another. So how does it happen then? How in the courts is in rem jurisdiction exercised over men and women? So it says governments can only therefore gain.
I know. I said I serve. You have to serve at least one master. You can't serve two masters. So when you don't have so-called master to serve a higher self, ancestors, religion, my religion is my ancestors. All right, cool. That's another story. But when you don't have a higher self that is the master, someone will be your master for you. Okay, cool. Let's go.
In rem jurisdiction, a what? A fictional in rem jurisdiction over men by creating various legal devices. What are those called? Personas or persons. For those men to assume
you are not a person. You may have a persona, you may have a personality. Stop calling yourself a person. All right, cool, let's go.
Control of. So to assume limited control. Well, there you go again. We were talking about that last night, but here it is again. If you're assuming limited control over these personas, that means they're not yours. That means that the legal title is not in your hands. you have equitable use over these persons that are created by the government for you to assume limited control, probably as a beneficiary, right? And then I've heard them flip it around and make you the trustee, and I'm sure they got ways to do that, and then make you liable.
Okay, now think about it. So that person said you stole something from the store, i.e. the manager of Walmart, whatever. Can that person be you in a court of law? If that person is the subject of another, you would have to bring their owner to court. All right, cool. Let's talk about that later.
What are those persons? We have citizen, taxpayer, driver, etc., etc. Since the device is legal fiction, a falsehood made true by force of law, this persona is in fact a legal object, or res. Let me read that again. Since the device, the person, the legal person, is legal fiction, a what? A legal fiction, a falsehood made true by force of law. So it wasn't until law came in that this happened and made this legal fiction of which you took limited control over, and this persona is in fact a legal object. What did they say? This persona, this person, right? All statutes, if you see, always are against the persons. So you're not that person. You assume limited control over that legal person. This persona is in fact a legal object or res. Just as.
So basically, I'm like, okay, damn it. I know you guys brought me in here today. I'm here under special appearance, basically, because I had to handle this matter with this person. What did my person do? I have limited control over it. Sometimes it gets out of control, and I have to address it. What did it do today? And then you go and find out what your person did. Now, when they ask you, is this you? And you be like, oh, I just told you this is my person. The fuck? You got me messed up with somebody else. All right, cool.
Just as in theater, the persona or person is separate from the man or woman playing the part. Therefore, there may be artificial person.
Therefore, however, I think you got me mixed up with somebody
else.
But not artificial men. Natural persons, but not natural men. This is out of American Law and Procedure, Volume 13, Chapter 5, Section 65, pages 156 through 157. You guys, this section right here is out of American Law and Procedure. It's not Greg's words. This is their words. They gain in rem jurisdiction.
Oh yeah, for the record, stereo, it's not Mr. Machiavelli's words or Mr. Houdini's words either. Go to the reference listed. Okie dokie, peace and love. We in the building. All right, cool. We're gonna continue on.
Over people, stealthily creating an impersonum jurisdiction when you go in and show interest in that name or in that person in that legal device. Again, it's not legal advice.
It's not legal advice, y'all. For your entertainment purposes only, remember that. And also, you are not your name. Only persons have names. Yeah, we're going to continue on.
This is just take a look at the facts. We're figuring out, and we need to figure out, and we need to show people how to recognize that you are not that legal person. They've created these persons for you to assume limited control over and pay the price of when they want to haul that person into court, and you think it's you. Read on, you guys. The word person defined. Gaius says de jure.
When the stereo Popo pulled me in, well, the other me in, and said, "Are you so-and-so?" I said, "I think you got me mixed up with somebody else. I'm Mr. Houdini. Y'all keep fucking getting me mixed up with somebody else."
Divisione, the divisions of the law. Immediately preceding his division of the law, then follows de conditione hominum, meaning the condition or status.
Conditions of a man. a man, not a person. Pay attention.
Men. All right. So now you're going to learn some more stuff, you guys. And we're going to stop after this chapter and we'll continue on with another video because this is enough to take in to blow your minds for the night. And really, I know a lot of you guys have heard these things and seen these things, but I'll read on. In the Institute's de jure personarum perceives the expression, all our civil law relates either to persons or to things or to actions. The words persona and personae did not have the meaning in the Roman which attaches to homo, the individual, or a man in the English. It had peculiar reference to artificial beings and the condition or status of individuals. All right. The word person, in its primitive and natural sense, signifies the mask with which actors who played dramatic pieces in Rome and Greece covered their heads. These pieces were played in public places and afterwards in such vast amphitheaters that it was impossible for a man to make himself heard by all the spectators and later by all the judges. Recourse was had to art. The head of each actor was enveloped with a mask, the figure of which represented the part he was to play. And it was so contrived that the opening for the emission of his voice made the sounds clearer and more resounding. Vox paranabat. I'm not so for sure if I'm pronouncing that right. When the name persona was given to the instrument or mask, which facilitated the resounding of his legal voice, the name persona was applied afterwards to the part itself which the actor had undertaken to play. Because the face of the mask was adopted to the age and character of him who was considered as speaking, and sometimes it was his own portrait. It is in this last sense of personage, or of the part which an individual plays, that the word persona is employed in jurisprudence, in opposition to the word man. When we speak of a person, we only consider the state of the man, the part he plays in society, abstractly, without considering the individual. First, Bouvier's Institute, Note 1. All right, you guys, so we're going to then go on to this last section. It says, logic follows that if man plays no part in a society, then he has no personal attachment or obligation thereto. The trustees, under a declaration of an express trust, are only persons in the private sense, because he only is a person once he has accepted the role offered to him by the settler. Private persons may also pursue constitutional protections as natural persons, citizens within the meaning of Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution, and may thereby claim entitlement to all the privileges and immunities of the same. We're not talking about 14th Amendment privileges and immunities, folks. We're talking about Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution, state citizen privileges and immunities. See generally Paul versus Virginia, 75 U.S. 168. 1868. It says, even though in today's economic situation, the term citizen is presumed to signify the 14th Amendment citizen, the term cannot be applied to express trust when administered properly. In contrast, corporations as artificial persons are citizens of the United States within the meaning of the 14th Amendment per Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad County. And, yeah, you guys,
so if your persona is a citizen, who are you?
It was huge, but it had all to do with the corporations being persons and being able to influence political parties. You guys can leave the name in the underneath in the comments. Anyway, I'm gonna break you guys.
All right, that was amazing. Cool, a lot of information in there. Now, anybody want to comment? Anything? I know there's some experts in the room that has a lot of information about that. If you want to pull up, open floor. We're going to open the floor. Anybody wants to pull up, let me know. Now, Stereo is already giving me the refresh button. So if you reported us, maybe not. But shout out to y'all. If Stereo is actually upgrading, shout out to Stereo. But, you know, they always do that right before they send me on my way. All right, cool. We're gonna continue on. Let's flow. Amber Doc, babe, you want to pull up to the hot seat? What up, Keezy? What it do, my guy? Everything. We do the floor's open. Anybody has any information? Study more. Anybody? Jennifer Rich, want to come up and just open talk? Let's talk about some contract laws. Let's talk about trust. Let's talk about how we got into this situation, how to get out. All right, cool. Floor is open. Let's go.
Hey, you want to go over the settler?
What, the definitions or
definition?
Yeah, why not?
Until somebody make some noise.
I got tons of these. I just, I didn't want to bore everybody to death.
Well, they still here. They still here. They're not bored.
A settler is the entity that establishes a trust.
My bad.
The settler goes by several other names. A settler is the entity that establishes a trust. The settler goes by several other names.
What names?
Donor, grantor, trustor, and trust maker. Regardless of what this entity is called, its role is to legally transfer control of an asset to a trustee, who manages it for one or more beneficiaries. In certain types of trusts, the settler may also be the beneficiary, the trustee, or both.
I wish I could. I'm working right now. I just got another order. I deliver groceries. I think I've told you that. But I just got another order, and the store is slammed and loud. I need to get a headset. See if I can find one while I'm in here.
Yeah, well, appreciate you wanting to join. We feel your energy anyway on the panel. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Let's go. We're talking about the trust. Express trust, private express trust to be exact. It's probably the most simple, I think. I know you can get into some detailed ones, very expensive ones as well. But we particularly were talking about the express private trust. Anybody? Anybody's ever put a trust together? How about a will? Anybody has a will put together? Because it'll help you figure out your will as well. You might thought you did a good will, but you might want to do it again now with a little bit more knowledge of what you know. Apply what you know as wisdom. Applying what you know and being able to express that is understanding. Love is understanding. What we're trying to do is express what we know and what we've applied. All right, cool. If no other questions, we can move on to the next thing. I have some more. I don't know. It's up to y'all.
All right, I got some more. Hold on.
All right, cool.
Both. Breaking down a settler. Trusts are designed to hold money, investments, or property for various purposes. Different types of trusts: testamentary trusts, living, inter vivos, trusts, revocable trusts, irrevocable trusts, and more protect assets in different ways. Trusts can facilitate a smooth and speedy transfer of assets upon death, eliminate probate costs, minimize estate taxes, and ensure that the settler's assets are used in the way intended. For example, a trust can allow a parent to make sure a child doesn't squander an inheritance. Trusts also let the settler decide, at a time when they are fully mentally capable, what would happen to their assets in the event of mental disability or incapacity. Setting up a simple trust can be an inexpensive task that the settler can accomplish with self-help legal forms, or a more complicated process involving an attorney and costs of up to $2,000. If a bank or trust company is appointed as trustee, there are also administrative costs to maintain the trust over time. To see how the settler's role works, let's consider an example of a revocable living trust. The settlor, Haley, establishes the trust. She does this instead of writing a will to determine what will happen to her assets after she passes away. That way, when Haley passes away, her assets won't have to go through probate, and since the process of distributing trust assets doesn't involve the courts, her assets won't become a matter of public record. She places all of her assets, her home, her beach condo, various family heirlooms and several investment accounts into the trust and retitles these assets in the trust's name. For the trustee, the person or company that will manage and distribute the trust assets, Haley chooses a trust company. The trust's beneficiaries upon her death will be her 3 children, but while she is alive, Haley will be the beneficiary even though she is also the settlor. Because she has chosen a revocable living trust, Haley can make changes to it as long as she is alive. For example, if one of her children becomes addicted to drugs, she can remove him as a beneficiary so he can't use her assets to finance his habit. Sponsored. Hire a pro. Compare 3.
Yeah, hire a pro.
Think about it. It's a lot here to the.
Peace to everybody in the chat. We appreciate each and every last one of y'all just for putting up with us. Yeah, Mr. Houdini, Mr. Machiavelli here on Cryptos United TV, holding it down. You already know. You could be anywhere else doing anything you choose to do, but you're right here with us, and we appreciate you.
Let's talk about it.
Talk about it.
Cool. I can continue on if that's what y'all like. Clap it up if y'all want me to continue on with the. Okay, cool. Let's continue. Everybody, welcome to another edition of Common Law Rights Society. I'm your host, Greg Ward, and tonight we will be talking about the Private Express Trusts that so many of you guys have heard about. The Common Law Private Express Trust, also known as a Massachusetts Trust, Massachusetts Business Trust. What else? Sometimes referred to as a private trust. But it's a non-statutory trust, so that's the important thing to distinguish. This is a private express trust, meaning it is written down, it is expressed, and it is not statutory. It is formed under the common law right of contract that every man and woman of adult age can create of their own right, what they call sui juris. So, your brother Greg here really believes in the importance of your rights, and so we always are on the search for ways that you can discover your rights that were given to you by the Creator that is not reliant upon any outside source. And when we study these things, we found trust law to be at the root of pretty much all things in our society today. And so when we discovered the Private Express Trust of the common law, we discovered that, in our opinion, this form of trust is on a same level of authority, if you will, as the state itself. Because remember, all things originate in contract law. This is not legal advice. This is just one man's opinion. But I believe it's a good opinion after a lot of research. Of course, please leave your comments and your thoughts below. But it is our opinion that contract rules, right? If you have and bear with me, humor me, right? If you, whether you believe
in the Creator or not. The Creator overall created all people to be equal and gave everyone equal rights, and those rights existed. Basically, you had the free will, right? As long as you did not trespass upon anyone else's rights. So, the common law is that form of do not trespass. That's where we get trespass from. We don't trespass on each other's properties. We don't trespass on each other's bodies. And then, as far as your right to create agree with another human being, that's your right of contract, of agreement. You also have that right. So you have the right to say yes, and you have the right to say no, right? So that is where we get consent to the governed from, and that's where all governments that are free governments that are created by the consent of the people originate out of. They have to start with two or more, right? So you've heard scriptures talk about two or more gathered. Well, here's another example of this. You have to have two people that have a contract, okay? And really, same thing with the trust. Many people say that you need three, but I think in the form of a basic trust, really, if I'm the grantor, and you'll find out about all these things, but if I'm the grantor, I give it to you as the trustee for me. Now I am the beneficiary. In the end, you have the trustee and the beneficiary. You have other roles that people play, but that's the basics of it. Nonetheless, that's not the point at the moment. The point at the moment is your rights came from the Creator and are equal footing to everyone else's rights. And the private express trust at the common law gives you a look into those original rights. And we'll just stop there and we'll open up the book and we'll take a look. So here's Weiss's Trustee Handbook. Here we go. Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook, a guide to the administration of an express trust under the common law of federal law. Albert Weiss, 2nd edition, 2008. Introduction.
Alright, so I'm gonna sit down for a second. If anybody wants to write this down, so you can go and look at it yourself, maybe copy it, buy it, whatever they do. Maybe get a PDF file. I don't know. But it's Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. Weiss, Concise, C-O-N-C-I-S-E. Trustee, T-R-U-S-T-E-E. Handbook, H-A-N-D-B-O-O-K. Weiss, Concise, Trustee Handbook. Continuing.
This handbook is about the administration of express trusts created under the original American common law and functioning within the unique system of commerce in the American states, i.e., the general law merchant, as it stands in the 21st century America. If we go down to the bottom of the footnote, it says the general law merchant is embraced under general common law, i.e., the original and unique system of commercial law in the American states in which there is no commerce regulation of express trusts except in connection with income derived from corporate stock and physical franchises under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 and 3 of the Constitution. See?
Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 and 3 of the
Section what?
Constitution. Section 1. Wait, pardon self. Article 1. Section 1. Pardon self. Section 8. And it's funny because they always give me a Section 8. I said, you have Section 8 and shit? No, I don't have a Section 8. But that's what they call something when they help you pay the rent, but it's called Section 8. It's funny. I just keep messing my mind up with that one. I need a Section 8. All right, cool. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 and 3 of the Constitution. Now, you want to pull it up before we move on?
I'm right there.
All right, cool.
How do I...
Section 8. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. To borrow money on the credit of the United States. To regulate commerce with foreign nations, and among the several states, and with the Indian tribes. To establish an uniform rule of naturalization, and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. To coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures. To provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States. To establish post offices and post roads. To promote the progress of science and useful arts, by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. To constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. To define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas, and offenses against the law of nations. To declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. To raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. To provide and maintain a navy. To make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces. To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers, and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress.
So this is still Section 8.
To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever, over such district, not exceeding 10 miles square, as may, by cession of particular states, and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings, and to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department or officer thereof.
I don't know, man. It read whole Section 8. You got it.
Went to the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment.
Yeah, well, get it all. Get it all in.
We need to hit them all. We need to hit them all one day, but.
My bad. I had stepped away. I stepped away.
Yeah, but that Second Amendment was pretty deep too. All right, cool. So you see the things that we waive because we don't have knowledge of, first of all. But we waive these things on a daily basis because we have representatives that we believe have our best interests, you know. But they know you don't even know the Constitution, so this is your best interest. It's the best you're gonna get, and so you have what those rights are that they're here to protect. You don't have rights if you don't know what they are, and if you're not protecting those rights, once you know what they are, you also don't have any. All right, cool. Who's next? What else? Yeah, we're gonna continue. You done went through the whole Constitution, but we can go with this guy.
Whatever, man.